Let's talk about your farm accident from 1978.
Okay, let's do that.
All right. What day was it?
What day was it?
Yeah.
It was April 17th, 1978.
It was a Monday.
I don't know, but it was about 5 in the afternoon.
And what were you doing?
I had just spread a load of manure and had cleaned the spreader, and I was walking around to get back on the tractor on the right hand, it'd be the left hand side of the machine. And the corner of my jacket went over the wheel of the spreader and got caught by the shaft that runs alongside the box. And it yanked my arm down between the shaft and the box. Fortunately, I had the old WD idling, and it killed the tractor engine. And there I was, caught like a rat in a trap and nobody around. And the pain was unbearable. And anyway, it was a compound fracture, and I knew I was in big trouble.
Meaning you could see the bones were sticking out.
Yeah, the bones were sticking out on both sides with the marrow pulsating in there, and I thought that was a bad sign. So I got my pocket knife out of my right pocket with my left hand, and I opened it up with my teeth and tried to cut myself out of there. And then the first people stopped, and I waved, and they stopped, and it was people I knew very well, Pat and Gordon Garsky. And they came to my rescue, and then another fella came, a neighbor, Nils Nelson. He went to Footville to call for the rescue squad. Then they came with the rescue squad from Orfordville. And when they came, then I knew I had it pretty well made, because my old friend Art Johnson was there, and he was in charge, and he made like, that was no big deal. But anyway, they got me out of that spreader, put me on a stretcher, put me in the ambulance, and took me to Janesville Hospital.
And they did surgery that night and put a rod in.
They did surgery that night, and they couldn't put a cast on that compound fracture, so they put a steel rod, a 13-inch steel rod down in from the shoulder down to the elbow to keep the bone together. And then a couple days later, Dr. Gredler noticed that he had taken a culture, and I had developed gas gangrene. So he ordered to take me to Milwaukee to the burn center, where they could treat me with a hyperbaric oxygen chamber.
At which hospital in Milwaukee?
I think it was St. Mary's, is that correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's up on the north end along the lake.
And they took you there by ambulance.
That is correct. And they put me in that hyperbaric oxygen chamber before they ever took me to a room. I remember very well, they were running down the hall with me on the cart, and the doctor and these attendants, all their robes flowing as they were running down through, and the doctor said, "Get that man in there, he's a hot one." So they had me in there, and at first they put me in every 4 hours, and then every 8 hours, and then every 12 hours.
And can you describe what did the hyperbaric chamber look like?
The hyperbaric chamber looked like a great big fruit jar with a hinged lid on the end. And they always had to put all the IVs through the door when they put me in there. I never did get used to the fact that they shut that thing and locked the door behind me, but I could see out, and they had a microphone in there, and I could talk to people if I wanted to. And it took them about 6 or 7 minutes to get me down to pressure. Then when they had me at the proper pressure, which was about, they took me down about 800 feet, like a deep sea diver. And then they would start the big clock on the wall, and that would run for 90 minutes. Then it took 6 or 7 minutes to get me back up, so I didn't get the bends. And they did that for, I think, 27 or 28 times. And I told them they could put me in again at 4 in the morning, but I'd be nothing but a blithering idiot. And I suppose they thought I already was. But anyway, then they kept me out a couple days and then they put me in again. But I was in there a total of 34 dives. But that's what kept me alive. And the healing that promoted with that oxygen is just unbelievable. That's why I'm still here today talking smart.
And one of the times you were in there, didn't some lines let go?
Yes, one time I was in there and a line let go and there was blood flying everywhere. So they had to take me up in 30 seconds and they correct that, and then they cleaned things up and put me in again. Yeah. But I was very well treated wherever I went and whatever they did.
And what else did they do besides the hyperbaric chamber treatments?
Well, they kept some of my nerves alive with electricity every day. They could raise any one of the fingers up or the thumb or the whole hand if they put enough electricity to it. That's just to keep the nerves alive.
And let's go back. When Dr. Gredler told you that the cultures had shown you had gas gangrene, did you know what that was?
I certainly did know what that was. It means you're going to be dead pretty soon. Oh, yes, I know what that was. It's many times worse than the regular gangrene. It's, wow.
Yeah, I have a few of the doctor's notes from the hospital, and the notes from the day that they admitted you said that they had explained 3 options to you of what they could do to treat the situation. 1, we could disarticulate at the shoulder, meaning amputate at the shoulder.
Yeah.
Which would have been the treatment of choice a few years ago in any hospital that did not have a hyperbaric oxygen setup. 2, a conservative approach in which he was given multiple hyperbaric oxygen treatments and the gas was followed by X-ray. Or 3, if the gas does progress and he stays as stable as he does, we might just fillet the wound later in the evening. So they did fillet the wound several times,
They did fillet the arm, yes. Yes.
And I've got the notes from the next day. It is now approximately 18 hours since patient was admitted. Within 6 hours after the first hyperbaric oxygen treatment, by X-ray, we were able to demonstrate a decrease in the gas, so it was decided to continue this conservative management. At this point, all vital signs are stable. The arm looks remarkably better. The patient is now having rather emotional reaction with relief. This is particularly so because he has had no sedation since admission because we did not know what was going to happen. He is now being sedated slightly, and we concur, and it is believed he will be able to pursue his hobby of walking on his hands as soon as the bone heals. Barring unseen complications, at this point it does not appear he will lose the arm.
Yeah.
And then at some point they did a skin graft.
Yes, they took some skin off of my right leg, the thigh, and they put skin on both sides of the arm. And in a matter of a few days, it had healed dramatically. And yeah, no problem there. Very good.
And for a short time after they had filleted or debrided the arm several times before they did the skin graft, there was a hole that went all the way through.
Yes.
And they squirted water through
Yes.
there or saline solution or something to clean it out.
Yes, yes, yes. You could. Yeah, you could see right through it. But there were people in there that were in a lot worse shape than I was because I was in the burn center. I was the only patient on that 6th floor that was not a burn victim. So I really felt sorry for them. And I had different people come and look at me, and they even had a team of specialists from China one day. So, yeah. So.
And somehow or other, a reporter from the Milwaukee Sentinel found out about you and came to interview you. You don't remember how he found out?
No, I do
you
not know,
there.
and I don't remember too much about that.
Well, that was on May 20th. I think that was very soon after you had the skin graft.
Oh, I see.
And I'm not sure what day he interviewed you, but you had indicated that the reporter told you if the story was in the paper, it was probably going to be in on Saturday. So when Mom and I came on Saturday morning to see you, and we stopped somewhere in downtown Milwaukee at a newspaper, a kiosk where they had newspapers where you put in, it was probably a quarter at the time, to get a newspaper out. And we thought we would stop and buy one and then look through it to see if we could find an article. So we got out of the car and went over and looked. And there you were on the front page above the fold. In the newspaper. So we bought all the newspapers that were in that receptacle. And I think to this day, I think the article, the reporter who interviewed you was a man named William Jans. His column was called Jans at Large. I think I'm quite sure he's still alive, and I think he might write an occasional article. He's retired, obviously, but I think that's the best interview that anybody has ever done. He must have taken very good notes because the quotes from you in that article, there was no doubt that that's exactly what you said. Mm-hmm. And I'll read a little bit from the beginning here of his article. The title of the article was "A Sure Bet, Hands Down." A farmer, Rudy Kopp's wit is as dry as sun-blasted hay. He is a character who likes to turn his 6 feet 3 inches upside down and watch the world from there. Barefoot and bare-chested, sitting on a bed Friday in St. Mary's Hospital, which has been his home for the last month, Kopp, 51, talked about life at the bottom. "Whenever the urge overtook me, gentlemen, I'd walk on my hands," he said, "at home or outside somewhere, anytime I feel like it. For 30 years, it's been sort of a joke. I can't take it to the bank and get anything for it, but I sure like doing it. I bet with my friends, you know, how far I can walk. One bet I had for a bottle of beer lasted 15 years. When I was 35, Ed said I wouldn't be able to do it when I was 50. A year or so ago, I told Ed it was time to pay. I was 50. He said, "You want to bet again?" Well, a man gets pretty dry in 15 years, so I said, "Why don't we make it 5 years?" Holding on to his badly injured right arm, Kopp said, "When I get out of here, he's going to lose again. Only 4 years and I get another bottle of beer." A likable, hard-laughing, courageous man, Kopp is not only lucky to still have his arm, he's lucky to be alive. As he wrote to a friend, "I haven't lost my fighting spirit, but it sure got the hell kicked out of it." I think that was you wrote to Bob Buell.
Well, he was right.
Yeah?
I laugh about it now, but it wasn't funny at the time.
Not really.